Well, everybody, it is finally that time. We can call it a Football Friday. We can call it a Playoff Football Friday, if that suits the name better, because we are only a few days away now from Wild Card Sunday, Eagles vs. Packers, at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, down at the link where the Eagles are going to do some serious business against the team that is the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles are going to win, and we're going to discuss all of that stuff today because a lot of stuff went on during this week and revolves to injuries, specifically, Jalen Hurts and his concussion protocol, stuff with A.J. Brown, stuff with Devontae Smith. We also got the injury report card that just came out a couple of minutes ago. All the talk from national media during the entire process this week in regards to just this matchup in general. It is absolutely insane, some of the discourse that was talked around the football media landscape. So it's a crazy week, 100%, and I guess that's what we should expect going into a playoff game. So we'll get into all that stuff. But before everything, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. If you are new to the channel, you viewed for a little bit, haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I definitely recommend that you do hit that subscribe button. It would do me such a great deal of service with the YouTube algorithm. You can also drop a like. You can also leave a comment in the comment section down below. I love to interact with you guys down there. You can also utilize the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Don't pass it up. I don't know if it's really going to help you going to a playoff game, specifically in the NFL, because those tickets are mad expensive. But hey, for anything else, concerts, Flyers, Sixers, baseball, because, eventually that's around the corner. That's even crazy to say right now. It's a great deal. Don't pass it up. You can also drop a follow on Instagram and TikTok, TTP Sports, for shorts, reels, and all that good stuff. So, man, this week felt like it dragged a little bit, but it also went quick at the same time. And that's regards to, doing a lot of work this week in regards to editing for Brodes and Rush Joy. So I guess all that stuff helped the week go by fast, I guess you could say, at the end of the day. But it still felt like it dragged on a little bit because there was just so many things that have been going on throughout this weekend, just revolving around news that surrounds the Eagles. Oh, what's going to happen with Jalen Hurts? Oh, is he going to come out of concussion protocol? Is Jalen Hurts going to play this Sunday? That's basically been the topics the entire week, basically going till Wednesday. And of course, as we all expected, Jalen Hurts started practicing on Wednesday. He went through the stages to get out of concussion protocol. And surprise, surprise, that he was cleared to get out of concussion protocol today. And he is going to start on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. That was no shocker at that entire sequence. I don't know why people were being so overly dramatic about it, especially on the national media side, but it's the national media. They're trying to get viewership, they're trying to get clicks and all that stuff. So, but it kind of felt like it was a weird discourse that goes around with this Eagles squad on the national stage when it comes to Jalen Hurts playing and not playing. When Jalen Hurts is not playing, especially when there was question marks about him going through the concussion protocol this week and everything, you see it all on Fox Sports 1, on all these talk shows about how, oh my God, if Jalen Hurts misses this game, how bad is that going to be for the Eagles? Because, Jalen Hurts, he's one of the people that drives that offense. He's one of the leaders of the offense. That's going to be a major loss for this Eagles squad, especially going up against a team like the Green Bay Packers, even though they're dealing with their own respective injuries. Yeah, the Eagles, they got Saquon, they got the defensive line, the defensive line and the offensive line. They got their defense in whole totality. But, Jalen Hurts, he helps that motor go. And when Jalen Hurts is coming into the game, when Jalen Hurts is going to start the game, it all goes around, oh, Jalen Hurts is not that good of a pocket presence quarterback. He's not that good of a passer. He's not that good at this. He's not that good at that. Blah, 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 blah. The Eagles, they probably shouldn't be that much of a favorite against the Green Bay Packers. Blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. It's complete 180 on all those topics surrounding Jalen Hurts and this Eagles team. And it's funny. It's so funny that, come on now. Come on. You're that desperate for attention that you just completely shift the narrative about when Jalen Hurts is injured. Oh my God, what are the Eagles going to do without him? To when Jalen Hurts is in the game. Jalen Hurts really isn't that good. It's just crazy. It really is. It makes me speechless, honestly, at the end of the day, with that discourse that goes around. Now, in terms of going into this game, obviously, do I have some concerns revolving around Jalen Hurts? I would say yes and no. I would say really the only thing that I would be concerned about is realistically just the rust factor, specifically because he hasn't been playing football and hadn't really seen action since the Commanders game where he only played 11 snaps and got injured with a concussion and then missed the game against the Dallas Cowboys. He missed the rest of the Commanders game. He missed the final week against the New York Giants. So that's basically 3 weeks of football that he missed before, coming in through the concussion protocol process to get ready for this game this week. And really, like I said, the only thing I would be concerned about is the rest factor. How long is it going to take Jalen Hurts to get into the flow of the game? How long, is he going to miss a few passes as the game starts? The communication between him and his receivers, the communication between him and his offensive line, him and Saquon, is that going to be a little bit scrambled a little bit, since you're getting into your first game action in so long? And that's really the only thing I'm concerned about. Once Jalen Hurts gets into his groove, once he gets into the ebbs and flow of the game, once he gets into his rhythm, I'm not concerned whatsoever because there's so many dynamics to this team that makes them just so much better than the Green Bay Packers. It's really not up for debate at this point, in my personal opinion. And that even goes back to all the discourse that goes around in the national media, specifically with the Green Bay Packers and just this matchup in general. Because when you look at the betting lines and all that stuff, Eagles, I think it's been hovering really around Eagles favorited by -4.5, -5.5. I think the original line started at -3.5, and I'm not sure if that was just reactionary to, if Jalen Hurts is going to be ready or not, or if it's Vegas just extremely overvaluing the Green Bay Packers. So I'm not really sure what that was all about, but I think basically as the past few days have been going on, I think the line has been hovering around -4.5, -5.5 in that range in favor of the Eagles. So they're still a decent favorite at the end of the day, but then you see stuff on Fox Sports 1 talking about how the Eagles, maybe they shouldn't be that much favorited against the Green Bay Packers. And a lot of it talks about, what Green Bay did last season in the playoffs, how they went in Dallas, it completely blew them out, and they went toe-to-toe with the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. They ended up losing that game, and that's what a lot of people want to use that revisionist history going into this week's matchup in the wild card round. And there's a lot of things that you could talk about at how you can argue against how it's just not going to replicate what all of these national media heads are talking about. One, the Eagles are not the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are a terribly ran organization. You get the news earlier today that they're still going to be keeping Mike McCarthy around and even possibly giving him a contract extension. So Jerry Jones, keep doing what you're doing because you're making the entire rest of the NFL world laugh and jump for joy that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be an irrelevant sack of shit for years and years and years and years to come. And yeah, over the course of some of Mike McCarthy's years, in the early stages with him and the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, they had some 10-plus win seasons, but they weren't doing anything in regards to playoff success. They would choke in the wild card round, choke in the divisional round, and obviously they choked against the Green Bay Packers last year when they got blown out on their home field in Jerry's World. And the Eagles are not going to do that. They are a more well-ran team, a well-prepared team. They got weapons on all facets of the game. Saquon Barkley, 2,000-yard plus rushing season. The offensive line basically mixes together with Saquon Barkley like peanut butter and jelly. And it's funny, too. I remember seeing a picture. This was from earlier today as well. It was on Lane Johnson's stall in the locker room today, and it was a picture of because I believe Lane Johnson wasn't given any all-pro considerations whatsoever in the National Football League. And I'm not sure if Lane Johnson did it himself or this was like some of the teammates doing on the offensive line, but it was comparing Lane Johnson's numbers to Penei Sewell's numbers, because I guess Penei Sewell got the All-Pro considerations and Lane Johnson didn't. So it's a little bit of, just a little more motivation, billboard material for Lane Johnson and this offensive line. And Lane Johnson's going to go all out because, it really feels like Lane Johnson's still one of the most underrated offensive linemen in the NFL. It just feels like he doesn't get enough respect because if you look at these numbers, he probably should have gotten All-Pro considerations, right next to Penei Sewell. So it's just insane at the end of the day. But, that offensive line's going to go to work. Saquon's going to go to work. You still have some dynamic weapons, even though they're still dealing with some injury, some soreness with A.J. Brown. He left practice a couple of days ago with whatever he was dealing with. I still think it's probably something to do with what happened a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was against the Steelers game with that ankle situation. Devontae Smith, I believe they're saying he's dealing with back spasms. I think even on the practice report today, I don't think he practiced in today's practice, if I'm not mistaken, but obviously he's going to be playing on Sunday, so that's nothing you got to be worrying about there at the end of the day. So regardless, a lot of people are banged up going into the playoffs. It's a lot of weeks of football. It's 18 weeks. The Eagles haven't had a bye week since week 5. There's going to be guys that are banged up, especially just all around the NFL in general. The Detroit Lions, they got the number 1 seed. Their entire defense is just destroyed at this rate. So there's really no excuses there at the end of the day. Every team is dealing with injuries, and I don't think the Eagles are going to use that as an excuse. Not at all at that state. So you got your weapons on offense. Dallas Goedert is back. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. You got this dynamic offensive line. You got Saquon Barkley, and I think those guys can overcome any situations that revolves around rust in dealing with Jalen Hurts. And I do think, there probably will be some rust revolving around Jalen Hurts in the beginning stages of the game. But like I said, when he gets into the flow of the game, when he gets into the rhythm, he's going to find a way to get his team going, get those passes to A.J. Brown, get those passes to Devontae Smith. He's going to find a way to become a factor into the game, let alone the rust. And I do think this offense, specifically on the running side, because they're one of the best rushing teams in the NFL, they can overcome any type of rust that happens with Jalen Hurts in this beginning stages of the game, where I'm not concerned at all. And this defense, they're going to go to town. The defensive front, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, all these guys, they're going to do their work. The secondary is going to do their work. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Darius Slay, all these guys, Reed Blankenship, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, all these guys are going to go to work. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and especially lately, even though, you can, I guess, say in terms of the competition that they are playing against, but lately in the past few weeks, really, they've been turning over the ball a lot, and that is very, very, very critical for this defense because they were a very good defense basically since the bye week, and then they started figuring out turning over the ball more consistently. When you add those two things together going into the playoffs, that could be something that is dangerous for opposing offenses and something that they have to look out for because C.J. Gardner-Johnson is out there looking for interceptions. Zach Bond's going to be out there trying to knock the ball out of Josh Jacobs' hands and all that stuff. So it is going to be just something I just don't think the Green Bay Packers have what, and the Green Bay Packers are banged up as it is too. They lose their deep threat. They lose one of the favorite targets for Jordan Love and Watson out there. That is a huge takeaway from their passing game on how they want to get the ball deep down the field. Yeah, they got Jacobs. He's a nice running back. He's been really good in this league, but I just don't think that's enough to overcome this Eagles defense, especially on the injury side for Green Bay. They even lose someone in their secondary too at Alexander, so that's a defensive weapon that's taken out for Green Bay too. So they're even dealing with injuries, even though, yes, I would love to see Green Bay at 100% because I still believe just overall this Eagles team is that much better than the Green Bay Packers. But, it is what it is at this point, and you're just playing the team that you have in front of you. So you can't do anything in regards to what teams have injuries, what teams are fully healthy. That's not in the Eagles' control. Just go out there and control the controllables, and you're going to go out there and win the game, like I think this Eagles team is going to do at the end of the day. And there's also so many things that go around the Green Bay Packers, and it goes back to how a lot of people on the national side don't think the Eagles should be favorited as much as they should be, where there's a lot of pressure on the Eagles. Like, this is what the national media is trying to say. So much pressure on the Eagles. Like, oh, if the Eagles lose this game, there's a lot of pressure on Nick Sirianni's job and all that stuff. We're going so far and reaching so much into all of these narratives that just don't exist, in my honest opinion. I just don't understand. Like, Green Bay is a good team. Green Bay is a good team. I'm not denying that. But they're also a good team that hasn't been anybody with a better record than them. I believe they're 0-4 against Minnesota and Detroit, and they lost against the Eagles as well in Brazil to start the season. So that's 0-5 against the teams that are better than them in those positions. So why would you think Green Bay is in a good position to upset? Because, everyone's counting them out, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And like I said, a lot of it's revisionist history just because of what Green Bay did last year. I don't think they're going to do that 2 years in a row. And the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're two completely different scenarios. It's just face value there. No team is going to come into the link and just completely embarrass the Eagles. I don't see that happening at all. Jordan Love's not going to go in there and completely torch this defense. Jordan Love's a good quarterback. He 100% is. I'm not denying that. He's a top quarterback. He's, like, I would say top 10 quarterback in this league. He's not a all-pro quarterback like some people want to put it out there. Jordan Love's a good quarterback. But with the injuries that he's dealing with the offensive side, it's not going to be enough. This offense is not, the Green Bay offense is not going to be able to keep up with the Eagles offense. The Green Bay's defense is not going to be able to shut down the Eagles offense. And we always want to talk about how slow the Eagles start the games and all that stuff. They've been better in recent weeks, like I said, granted to the competition that they are playing, but, it doesn't matter if the Eagles start off slow because the defense is going to feast. The defense is going to do their thing to keep the offense involved, and then the offense, as Saquon continues to churn those yards, how much the yardage per carry goes up during the game for Saquon Barkley, and that's exactly what's going to happen against this Green Bay team. I know a lot of people say Green Bay is really good at defending the run, but with this offensive line, with Saquon Barkley and the way that he can just take over games, I'm not concerned about that in the slightest because this offensive line is all-time. And with an all-time rushing season from Saquon, it's a great recipe for success. I cannot see any possible reason that this Green Bay team is going to come into Philadelphia, come to Lincoln Financial Field, and just mollywop the Eagles. Even though not many people are saying they're going to mollywop them, like come into Philadelphia and upset them. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen whatsoever. I'm not concerned. I'm not nervous. And yes, granted, during the game, I always overreact and all that stuff, but granted, I'm confident in this team. I'm confident in this bunch. This team is built to go on a deep run in the playoffs. They're built to get to a Super Bowl. They're built to win a Super Bowl. I'm not worried about the 7th seed Green Bay Packers. I'm not. They haven't beaten anybody in the top few seeds at all this year. They're 0-5 against Minnesota, against Detroit, and against Philadelphia. And those three teams are in a completely different tier than the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are a good team. They're not at that level of those other three teams. On a completely different level. They're not going to overcome that. They're not going to overcome the link. They're not going to overcome the Philadelphia crowd just making their lives, just raining noise, making it difficult for them to hear, making their lives just an absolute living nightmare. They're not going to overcome it. Jordan Love's not going to go in there and just be able to do his thing. I don't see it. The Eagles are to win. Do I think they're going to dominate? I could see it. Even when I said rust might be a factor with Jalen Hurts, I still think this team has the capabilities to go out there and dominate. They get better week after week after week. It's been like that since the bye. Why would I expect any less? Be confident in this team. Open up to this team. Philadelphia fans should be confident. There's so many people out there that try to tell you, oh, you got to stay humble and all that stuff. You got to respect your competition. I got to respect my competition and still understand that I feel like my team is just 20 billion times better than who we're facing. You got to be confident in your own squad. This is not like, the past couple of years of the Phillies, the past couple of years of the Sixers and all that stuff, where you're just putting blind faith in everything. 2022, it wasn't blind faith. You thought that team was capable of going to a Super Bowl and possibly winning a Super Bowl. Granted, they didn't get the ultimate goal done, but they still managed to get there. They were still good enough to win it. Sadly, all that stuff that happened at the end of the game. But, you still thought they were good enough for winning a Super Bowl. The 2017 team, even without Carson Wentz, that team was still stacked. You thought they could go on a deep run. If it was a magical run and all that stuff, still a stacked team. This is the same exact feeling. Philadelphia should really embrace this. Philly fans should embrace this. Now, if people want to be nervous, let them be nervous. I'm going to be confident at the end of the day because I think this team is just that good. This team is just that dynamic. This team is just that elite. It's a fantastic team. I think they have what it takes. And I think they're going to beat Green Bay wholeheartedly on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, 4:30. Basically, that is when the sun goes down. So late afternoon, early evening, whatever you want to call it. And it's funny, and it's great, too, because I believe the Eagles, they posted, I'm not sure if there was like 2 hype videos or something like that, like on their YouTube and Twitter accounts. They posted the shorter one on YouTube with Shady McCoy doing all that stuff. That was great, and one in the run through a brick wall. The one that I really liked was the 6.5-minute video. I believe it was just, the team meeting and all that stuff. It was Nick Sirianni basically going through everything. What they recently posted on Twitter, I think it was like an hour ago, 2 hours ago, or something like that. And it was Nick Sirianni basically just going through every single point of this team and what makes this team great. He points out Jalen, he points out Saquon, he points out this offensive line, the defensive line, Quinyon, Cooper, Sidney Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship. He points out every single aspect of this team and how these individuals make this team great and how this team is great just to begin with. It was a great speech by Nick Sirianni. It was a great talk. It's on the Eagles Twitter if you want to go check it out there. It was the 6.5-minute video that they posted earlier this afternoon. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's great. It's all that stuff. Makes me want to run through a brick wall Sunday afternoon, evening, whatever it is. You can't get here sooner enough to watch opening kickoff, to watch the link full of 60,000 plus Philadelphia fans. Drunk, sober, crazy, it doesn't matter. They're going to be crazy. They're going to be tailgating at like 8 in the morning. I live right near the sports complex. You'll see the Eagles fans walking through the neighborhood, trying to park through the neighborhood, trying to get to their early tailgates and all that stuff. All the people that walk to the game, all the people that park in the Chickies and Pizza parking lot and all of that stuff. It's great. It's great. When I go to the gym on Sundays, I see so many people that are just trying to get into the Chickies and Pizza lot on a Sunday afternoon when the Eagles are playing at home at the link. It's a nice see. It's a nice see. Then you see some people walking through as I'm getting to the gym, walking in that direction of the link. It's fun stuff. And especially during a playoff atmosphere, it's going to be even more hectic. And I can't wait. And I can't wait for it whatsoever. So Sunday can't get here soon enough, everybody. It just can't. So, what are your thoughts? What are your reactions? What do you think is going to go down this Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field? Eagles-Packers? You think Eagles win? You think they win convincingly? Or are you in the other side where, for some reason, you think Green Bay can come into Philadelphia and upset this team? I don't see that happening, by the way. But I want to hear your thoughts. I would like to discuss all that stuff with you down in the comment section down below. So don't forget to drop those down there. Do not forget to drop a like. Do not forget to hit subscribe. Does me a great deal of service. Also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Also follow on Instagram and TikTok at TTPSports. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in. As always, love every single one of you. Wanting to keep the channel growing. I don't think I'm going to do a live stream during the game because it's harder for me to talk football during a live stream because I want to pay attention to every single aspect. So it'll probably just be the live recap following the game. So I'll let you guys know. You can find it on Twitter. You can find it where I'll post it here on YouTube or anything like that. So you guys will see it. So don't worry about that. It'll most likely just be a live recap and all that stuff. Just be prepared for all that stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoy your weekend. Hopefully that revolves in an Eagles win on Sunday. And without further ado, go Birds, and I'll see you next time.